time for question of the week. Thanks for stopping by for question of the week. Question of the week.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back into our second edition of Question of the Week. I'm still Will Shingleton, and I'm here tonight with David Coggin, our co-producer and co-host. David, how are you doing on this lovely Thursday evening?
Hello, I'm good.
Well, the biggest news that we had today, and kind of the subject of what this Question of the Week is going to be, we'll get to in a minute. But first, we want to say a big thank you to everybody that has tuned into the show so far, which is not just a United States thing, which I think we're super proud of. We have listeners in Canada, Ireland, the UAE, Norway, Panama, Australia, and then, of course, this is a Premier League themed centered show. So in the UK, we have fans in Essex, Bristol, Inglefield Green, Newark-on-Trent, which I'm told is in Nottinghamshire between Nottingham and Lincoln, Folkestone, Hornsey, which is very close to the Emirates. They'll be very proud. And Scotland, Mabel. I really hope I didn't butcher any of those pronunciations. But thank you, everyone out there in the States and outside that has listened to the show so far. By the time this episode airs, unless I'm just like super on my editing game tonight, we will have an episode out for you to listen to. If you enjoyed the show, please give us a rating either on Apple Podcasts or otherwise. Give it a review, subscribe, just so that we can get more listeners and hopefully grow the show and grow this community, because that's what we're trying to do. David, tell the people where we are available for them to get in touch with us.
So we are pretty much everywhere. Obviously, our podcast itself can be found on any of your typical podcast platforms like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Anchor, obviously. And as far as social media goes, we have some complimentary video content on YouTube on our channel called Career Mode Theater, which is also our Facebook page's name. And we're on Twitter for random musings as all of this PL post-coronavirus stuff unfolds. We have some good little quips on there, but we can be found at FIFA CM Theater and on Instagram at Career Mode Theater.
So our question of the week today comes from a good friend of ours on Twitter, but Will would like to know, what would you like to see from FIFA 21? And that is a particularly timely question because today, of course, we had the trailer for FIFA 21 drop. David, did you get a chance to watch the trailer?
I did. There was a lot of Mbappe.
Yes,
So
a lot
much.
of Mbappe. I also realized that we're at the point in our lives where, like, obviously the trailer was primarily focused on, like, Mbappe and João Felix and Erling Haaland. And these guys are now, like, 5 or 6 years younger than us, which is kind of weird to look at that and be like, yeah, they're, 21, 22. What have I done with my life up to this point?
It's a new generation. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's exciting if you're a Borussia Dortmund fan, but if you're a podcast producer living in Greenville, South Carolina, like, it's kind of a wake-up call. But yeah, we did have a lot of FIFA buzz today because of the trailer dropping. We also had a lot of rumors around the internet and just general leaks about new features that are going to be in the game. So like tonight, we're going to talk about not just what we would like to see, but what we're going to see in FIFA 21. There was a really good article from the Liverpool Echo that went over some of the changes that will be in the new game as opposed to FIFA 20. Got gameplay changes like agile dribbling, more intelligent runs, and my favorite, Dave, you'll appreciate this, is positional personalities, which I understand what they're going for there. The quote here is, positioning personality elevates footballers' in-game intelligence to match their real-world understanding of space and time, allowing top players to anticipate the play, move more intelligently across the pitch, and take up more advantageous positions. World-class forwards will hold their runs to stay level with the last defender to stay onside. Playmakers will hunt for space to operate between the lines, while the best defenders will close down passing lanes more effectively to make it harder for the opposition to create opportunities. That's positional personalities. I just love that phrasing because I can just imagine a scenario where you're like, well, in general, he's very like nice guy. He's got a good personality, but his positional personality, woof, terrible.
I can't wait to see that crash and burn. The whole agile dribbling thing.
Mhm.
I'm sure that'll be fun for people who use moves, but for me and my 3 skill moves, I think I'll be all right.
Yeah, for the people that actually know what they're doing, this is good. This is going to be
Yeah.
huge. They've also made a few changes to Volta and the Ultimate Team, which you and I have both used sparingly, but the ones that we're after, obviously, is the changes that they have made to career mode. And the first one that I texted you about earlier, as soon as I found out, is player development. You can actually change your players' positions. This is a huge thing. This is something that you and I have talked about pretty extensively in the past. So if you have a case like has actually happened IRL with a player like Robin Van Persie, who was primarily a winger before he came to Arsenal, they converted him to a number 9. Like, you can actually do that now. I remember a few years ago, Pochettino, as soon as he got in, Eric Dyer was primarily played as a center back, but he converted him to defensive midfield. He's gone back to center back now. But for those couple of seasons, like, you can make those kinds of transitions and it not just be you playing a guy out of position. This is great. We love this.
Yeah. The biggest problem for me that it solves is when you have your youth academy players and you scout your defensive minded, and you get a bunch of players on your scouting report, and all of the right backs are 6'5", and all of the center backs are 5'9".
Yeah.
So this will help.
Yeah, like, you inevitably get a lot of guys that are like you said, like 6'5" right backs with like,
it's like
55 pace. And you're just like,
why?
well, this doesn't do me any good at all.
Like you are useless out there.
Yeah. Whereas in the middle, you're a tree. That's perfect.
Yeah,
and just in their own words, this new element to career mode is you can manage your players' development in greater detail with a revamped growth system, which is cool. So they'll grow within those individual positions that you switch them to. It's kind of an adaptation of the dynamic potential that we saw introduced this year. You can turn right backs into right wingers. Careful with that one. Defensive midfielders into center backs, and to fill gaps in your team, but also you can monitor player attribute changes during training to see how your squad is progressing. So just kind of a more comprehensive squad-oriented approach to development, which I think is kind of cool. But yeah, as you pointed out earlier, it's only cool if it works.
Yep. And that brings us to the overall disclaimer here, is all the stuff we're reading is all fine and good. But as we learned we learned the hard way last year and all the other years before that, but we're still blind and buying it again. All the features were great on the pitch notes when they came out from EA on the website. And then on opening day, none of it worked.
Yeah, and inevitably you have to get like 2 or 3 updates deep for it to, be relatively glitch free. And even then, like, dynamic potential was one of the big things they introduced this year, where you could potentially get a guy who, isn't Mbappe and grow him into a cornerstone of your team. But like, all of the various moving parts that had to be in place to make that happen had to be just so for it to work. So it took them a while to actually get that to be effective. So like I said, like you said, I think this could be really cool if it works. Now, there are a couple of other features within career mode. Primarily, this one is primarily focused around the transfer system, which I know you and I have had a lot of discussions about our frustration with. There's a loan to buy feature, which is cool. I think that takes a lot of there in the past, especially, there have been a lot of question marks around how loaning actually benefits you if you are, a holder of a very good young player that you don't really have enough room on your squad for. That was really the only way that loaning was useful. Or if you were really a less well-off team, you could loan players in to fill out your squad or just give you a little bit extra talent. But this is cool. You can loan people in like it works in real life and navigate around the situation. Like, even within our show, like, we have Danny Ceballos on our team. He's killing it right now through the first 3
Danny
episodes.
Ceballos!
It's been amazing. Yeah, Martin Tyler cannot contain his excitement over how good Danny Ceballos has been.
Now, Danny Ceballos. Danny Ceballos!
Martin Tyler loves Danny Ceballos.
He does.
Now, Danny Ceballos. Danny Ceballos!
I'm just imagining Alan Smith in the commentary booth with him. Because every time Danny Ceballos gets the ball, just like, oh no, Martin, not again.
Here we go.
Yeah. You see Arteta down the pitch, just like, what? Like, but yeah, in real life, Arsenal loaned him in for this year. It doesn't look like he's going to stick around for 2020-21. But with this new feature in FIFA, you could potentially, if you don't have the transfer fee right now, you could loan somebody in and to buy them later. It does not fix all of the issues with let me back up and say that it's not so much the issues that I and you have had with FIFA's transfer is not so much like the ability to do things. It's more the logic, especially as far as other teams are concerned. So I could see this getting a little wacky, like just transfers that don't make any sense. Or you could have the situation too, where you go into try and loan somebody and that team will tell you that they're not available for loan. And then, 2 minutes later, you get an update like, oh, well, you can't buy them because they just went out on loan. Like, what the hell? So now that could be permanent. So it's, again, could be really cool, but also quite risky.
See, you want to know the funny thing about this feature? Is that they had it for a little while.
Yeah.
Then they took it away.
Yeah, I remember this was in like FIFA like 14. Like they had that you could, I never really used it because I didn't know what I was doing at that point.
Yeah.
But like you could do this. You could say, have a future fee. I think that was what they called it within the negotiations themselves.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. It's interesting sometimes how FIFA circles back around to ideas that they had previously.
Yeah. It's like it's not new because like back when they had it, I would abuse it big time because I would get a player that I wasn't sure if I liked or not, and I would get them to agree to a transfer fee, and then just change it to a loan with a future purchase clause. And if I loaned them and I liked them, I'll just exercise the purchase clause. And if I didn't end up liking them, see ya.
Yeah.
So like, because I mean, every once in a while you'll spend what 50 million on a player, and you get them and you put them in your team, and then they just kind of like, I probably shouldn't have done this. They're not that great.
Man, especially if you have a team, if you're not playing as Man City, like, I one of my career modes currently, one that I'm not doing with you, is with Eintracht Frankfurt, and I just loaned in Takefusa Kubo, who is super useful, and I'm definitely gonna try and buy him later. But if I had bought him for 30 or 40 million or whatever, and you get him in there and you don't like him, you're just kind of stuck with him at that point. So yeah, I think this could be cool. They're also adding in an interactive match sim feature, which is already a thing in a lot of other sports games. Like I'm also a big 2K player, and they have this. So Madden, in the event,
Madden has it.
Right. So and that serves two purposes. If you're lazy like me and you don't want to play a whole game, you can just play the game to, if you're down, if it's a tie game with 5 minutes left in 2K, like you can just hop in there and, save the day. But, as it stands with FIFA currently, if you sim a match, either just because you don't want to play, Colchester United in the FA Cup, like you're just leaving it completely to chance. So I think it's good that if you are down 1-0 to Colchester with 30 minutes left, you can hop in there and hopefully rescue your team from embarrassment. I don't know how much I'm going to use that, but
I'll just sim it. It'll be fine.
Yeah.
I won't get 2 red cards and my star striker won't break his leg. That won't happen.
Yeah, and just have no control over it all. Just be like, oh, thanks, FIFA. That was very kind of you.
I'm just super excited to be up 3-0 with like 10 minutes left, and I, sim it, walk out of the room, get something from the fridge, and come back, and I've lost 4-3. I can't wait for that. It's gonna be great.
Yeah. So they also have this match sharpness thing, which like, they have, especially in Ultimate Team, like they have the chemistry effect, which like, plays off of people's attributes, makes your team stronger. This is from the Liverpool Echo article. It says this is a new attribute that indicates how likely your players are to perform in the most crucial moments during the course of the game. Increase your players' sharpness with new active training system that gives you the ability to set up group training sessions to improve the likelihood of your strikers putting big chances away. or of defenders making key tackles, which I'm like, okay, cool. Like that, this is one of the things that maybe be useful. I could see it going the other way more of like, if you just neglect to do this, like you're in the 87th minute and you're Barcelona and you have like Antoine Griezmann breaking on towards goal and like you forgot to do your group training sessions, and so instead of putting the shot in from 10 yards out, just like flies into Rosed.
You chose poorly.
Yeah. So like, again, could be cool. I like that they're trying to make it more realistic in that sense. I think and this kind of gets into what we want to see from future FIFAs, but like if you were going to double down on the realistic thing like this, I probably wouldn't choose this for the place that you would go. But let's just go ahead and to circle back to Will's question from the beginning is, what do we want to see from future FIFAs? And Dave, I know you have a lot of takes on this. So what do you want to see from future FIFAs?
Well, I want to put a disclaimer out there again, is that the EA developers are in a no-win spot, because I don't think that they've been given the resources to like put the effort into fixing all this stuff in career mode, because we have the all of the footies that bring in all the money. But I think they're kind of in a no-win situation, because like last year they tried, I guess, if you could put it that way, and they got absolutely crucified for what the product that they put out. And so what's the motivation for them to try again, like if they know it's just going to go so poorly? But like, and I'm getting off the question, but this reminds me of the match sharpness player feedback type thing. Like who asked for this? And like, if you ask me, total disaster written all over this. Like I don't see this going well. There's there's so many other, so much other low-hanging fruit out there, and they chose this, and I just don't understand it. It doesn't make any sense. But anyways, what do I want to see in future FIFA? So what I would highlight as the easiest implementation, and the thing that so many people have been just clamoring for so long, is just track the stats of the players all the way through their career. It's not hard. That's my biggest gripe. You have a forward in your career mode, you have him for 8 years, and like, what do you want to know after 8 years is how many goals has he scored, how many appearances has he made? Like, and that's just, it's so easy for them to like make those little changes.
Yeah, and like I would jump to their defense a little bit more, but like literally every other sports game that has a career mode has this. Like 2K, you can look back. If you look at LeBron James' career, he's coming up on his 18th year in the league. Like, you can go all the way back to the 2003 Cleveland days and figure out his assists per game. Like, do we need to know all that? No, absolutely not. But it's still like, how difficult would this be for FIFA? Because like, especially in a career mode, like you're saying, like you do this, the whole point is to construct this universe and this narrative. And if you grow up this guy this was my 16-year-old striker that I recruited out of Nigeria, and he's been on my team for 15 years. Like, I want to know exactly how many goals he scored, assists, all of it. So
yeah,
I get that.
It's in the title. It's called career mode. It's not called season mode.
Yeah. And like, you can, if you're the manager, like you can see your win-loss rate, but like,
yeah,
I don't care. I don't care about that. Like,
yeah, like that's all fine and good. Like I enjoy that that's there. That's cool. But to me, it's only 5% of what I want to see in terms of stat tracking on there. But yeah, what about you? What's your biggest wish?
I mean, Dave, you know what it is. Like really the only like thing I would change, and it kind of ties into. I know we talked about being able to create a club, and
there's those words.
Yeah, just as a quick aside, like, and David and I have both dabbled in this. Like, I remember David and I were on a soccer team together in college, and we went back and made ourselves, and like with all of our friends, and it was really cool. You had to do that on the internet and then import it into FIFA, which was just like
archaic.
Super annoying.
Yeah.
And like, it should literally be like, we've had this technology since like, you've been able to do this since like Madden 2002. Like,
yeah, it used to be in the game.
Yeah. Like, and I understand like as things get bigger and you have to like navigate licensing agreements and like all that kind of stuff, like it gets a lot more complicated than we're probably making it, but at the same time, like, just give it to us. These are the things that people want. And for me, an extension of that is I want to edit the uniforms, please. Like, come on. Like, I'll pop up a few, and I mentioned I'm a big 2K player as well. They let you do that in 2K, and like, I have spent so many hours of my life, like literally I will not pick a team unless I can make their uniforms look slick, or if they already have good uniforms that I don't hate every time I watch go out. And so like, if you have a 15, 20 year long career mode, like, to still, if we get to 2032 and, you know, Tottenham still got the red AIA across the chest, like, I'm just like, guys, why? Like, every player has changed since the career mode started, and we're still, Arsenal still got the bruised banana aways. That would be my choice. Again, I don't know how realistic that is, especially with big sponsorship agreements and licensing and stuff like that. But please, EA, like, I also think it would be really cool if they could figure out a way to, like, because I want everybody else's to change too. So if I could just like randomize for everyone, and like, I realize that could get a little wacky. Like, you show up and you're playing Liverpool and they have like, a stripe this way and a stripe this, and you're like,
and McDonald's
sort of like honeycomb pattern across it. You're like, all right, this is awful, but at least it's different. So that was probably number one on the list for me.
Like, create a club by far is the most common thing I've seen from anyone who's recommending things for career mode. It's create a club. So everyone wants it. We'll probably never get it, but that's the thing. A couple of other little things I would like. I think they should really look hard at putting the USL Championship in FIFA, and this is a little more like FIFA as a whole thing. It's not really career mode, but I think it would be very, very cool to have like what's essentially the second league in the United States in this game, where we have an entire new generation of people in cities that aren't big enough to have MLS teams watching these guys play, and it would be really, really cool if they could go on and play with them on FIFA, even if they were really bad, because they will be, but that's okay. Then as far as the rest of the laundry list goes, I would love like some sort of script that converts the youth academy players that come out with 4 names to something a little more condensed. So if I have, and this is a real name, if I have Lucas Tolentino Resende Brazal come out of my youth academy, I would love to name him 1 or 2 of those names. That would be great.
Just Lucas. We're gonna call you Lucas.
Yeah, just Lucas. Or even 2 of those names would be great, because it's like, whoa, too much name. But yeah, I would love to have youth academy matches, like even 3 or 4 a season would be fine, just to be able to see how those guys play. More robust youth academy, like customization where you can invest in the facilities with transfer funds, that kind of thing, to where you get better growth rates on your youth academy players based on how much you invest. And also stadium upgrades, general club upgrades that you could pay for, that would be great. More team sheets. And then just cancel Ultimate Team altogether. That's the rest of my list.
Yeah. And you mentioned it earlier, like at this point, we're going to take what we can get, just because we, as FIFA players, we are aware that like Ultimate Team is the cash cow, and for EA and the FIFA developers to double down on career mode is essentially turning back on the thing that's giving them their jobs. But that being said, like career mode is, although it has been overshadowed by FUT almost completely in recent years, it's still like there's a lot of people that are very loyal to career mode and just want to see these things happen. And I think a lot of that, the changes that we want, is like they center around just customization, like being able to make things in our own image if we want them to be. Because like the gameplay, cool, that's great.
Right, it's really good.
It's fantastic. Like I don't think anybody was complaining about how well my squad was meshing together. And like you mentioned, I am going to be a little annoyed if I'm in the Champions League final and Toby Alderweireld didn't get his group training in that week, and just take somebody down from behind and gets a red. Like, that is going to be annoying. But that's going to affect things now, and unfortunately, I can't change their new uniforms, which look awful, by the way. So let me just get that out on the record. I know we talked about Arsenal's new kits, and you're not a huge fan either.
Yeah, I mean they're fine. Like, I'm not a huge fan. I think the pattern is kind of stupid, but maybe they'll grow on me. I don't know. We'll see.
Well, here's hoping that they do, and that I don't actually physically vomit because of the eggshell printer pattern thing that's on Tottenham's kits this year, while we play in the Europa League. But anyway, thank you guys so much for watching this episode of Question of the Week. We will have another one next week. If you would like to submit a question, please get in touch with us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, really anywhere that you can find us, and we will do our best to get it into the show. If you would please, if you were a fan of the show that you have listened to so far, the first couple episodes, episode 3 comes out this Friday, leave us a rating, subscribe to the show, give us a review. It just helps people find us a lot more easily and helps us grow the show a lot more quickly. We also have a bunch of YouTube content out on the internet for everyone to see as well. David, thank you again so much for joining me.
Of course. It's been a lot of fun. And again, we appreciate everyone who's been listening, watching, engaging in our little three-ring circus here. That's also fun.
Thank y'all so much. We will see you again next week. And until then, happy career moding.